Welcome back, Withdrawal Warriors. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. Please join us in the fight to bring awareness to pharmaceuticals and their dangers. Don't get me wrong, they're not all bad, but I think there's been plenty of people who've had either discomfort or just absolutely horrible experiences. So I'm out here trying to tell the world about it. So the subject at hand is drawing the distinction between addiction and dependence. Now, sometimes they go hand in hand. So, first off, addiction, I think we're all pretty familiar with it. It's that feeling of having to have something. It can be other than substances, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about substances, specifically drugs. So, that doesn't really need a whole lot of explaining. I think a lot of people are really aware of it. It is typically seeking the substance, going out of your way. It can get as bad as lying or manipulating, so on and so forth, to get what somebody has an intense craving for. Now, dependence, on the other hand, is when your body has adapted and feels like it needs a substance in order to continue to function properly. So, excuse me, in terms of psychotropics in particular, the body adapts, in particular the brain, but it is affecting your entire body. And in the way that it adapts, it is now functioning with a particular substance. And if somebody doesn't have as much of it or stops taking it, they're not necessarily lying or manipulating or doing something to go out and get the drug, but their body may be reacting to not having it anymore. That can be an array of symptoms. For me, it was a lot of digestive symptoms like a lack of appetite and nausea. There was also insomnia. There was body fatigue. My emotions were all over the place. That can be a whole nother thing. And I'm sure the list goes on with other people. As a matter of fact, I discovered there was a name for this really weird body sensation when I would move too quickly, when I was coming off of an SSRI. It was a disturbance in my proprioception, which is essentially the knowing or feeling where your body is. It's pretty hard to describe, but if my hand is over here, I know my hand is over here normally. But when there was an issue with it, I would move quickly and felt like my sort of awareness needed to catch up to where my body had moved. Very weird. And that was relatively minor for me. So back to dependence, addiction. Now, we've also noticed, I forgot about that effect. That's pretty cool. We've also noticed that when somebody's addicted, their body is oftentimes also dependent. So they can overlap or coincide. However, many times there is a dependence on these psychotropics and not an addiction. One class of drugs that I can think of where there can be actual addiction and seeking out the substance would be benzodiazepines or benzos for short, like your Xanax and Ativan and things like that. However, the reason why I'm making this video, making this distinction, is I hear a lot of talk, whether somebody says to a person who's been on these drugs or is on these drugs that they're addicted, or medical community will say it's non-addictive. Well, in the sense that somebody may not be hard pressed to go out and get it because they're getting a craving. That's really the key word here. But they're dependent. Their body starts to go awry when they don't have whatever it is that they have been taking consistently. So, if we can have some compassion and distinction for those who are going through this, or when we're reading something, sometimes the the verbiage isn't quite accurate, and that can actually make a huge difference when we're trying to understand this literature or trying to understand what somebody is saying.